Hi guys! Today we're going to be going over my biggest book haul yet! I'm equal parts embarrassed and excited. These aren't organized in any particular way beyond like hardcovers and paperbacks and what's stacked nicely, so I'm just gonna dive right in. And I guess I should mention this book haul is covering about like the last 3 months or so worth of book buying and gifts I've received, and a lot of these were thrifted, some of these are subscription boxes. It looks bad, but hopefully it's not as bad as I fear it is. We're gonna start off just with this stack for no particular reason. We have Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson. This is the third book in the Skyward series, a series I have not started, but I have been enjoying my Sanderson journey, and I do want to check out his YA Sci-Fi series at some point, and this is the first time I've found this used, so I picked this up for $9 from my local bookstore, and I was pretty excited because I see books 1 and 2 around a lot used, but like I said, first time I've seen Cytonic, so I now have all 3 books that are out. I don't have Skyward Flight physically, but I did pick that up as like a Kindle deal for like $1.99 or something recently, so I do technically own all the books in the series. And I don't know what this one specifically is about, but I know in the first one we follow a character named Spensa, who is her on the cover, and her father was a disgraced pilot. I don't know what exactly happened, but she's also trying to be a pilot while also having to battle this stigma that her family has. I am excited to get to this at some point. I'm trying to read the Mistborn trilogy, and after that I think I'm going to jump into the Skyward series. So I'm very much looking forward to this, and I was really excited to find this used. In a similar vein, I picked up The Blood Trader by Lynette Noni. This is the third book in the Prison Healer series, another YA series I have not started yet, but I've heard really good things. I got book 1 from Fairy Loot, and I didn't buy books 2 and 3 from Fairy Loot, but I see them go for like a lot, so I assume they're popular and well liked. I'm kind of regretting not getting the matching set, but it is what it is. I found this used for $8 at the same bookstore. I think I actually picked these up on the same day, so that was a good day for thrifting for me. So I don't want to read the flap for spoiler reasons, but I'm pretty sure our main character works in a prison. I think she's got magical powers of some sort, and a prisoner that she comes across, I think, becomes love interest. I know very little, but I am excited to get to this one at some point. Again, I feel like it's got good ratings, good reviews, it's popular, so I hope I like it enough to get to this third book. We'll see. I literally have no room on the table in front of me to stack books that I've talked about. Oh my god. Next up, we have God Killer by Hannah Kaner. This is the first book in a series. This is an adult series, and this is the Waterstones edition with the sprayed edges. Fun fact, I like this edition better than the Illumicrate one. Not that I have an Illumicrate subscription, but that worked it out nicely. In this series, we follow a character who hunts gods, and she ends up coming across a girl who has a god bonded to her, and while the girl and this god like each other, like they have a good relationship, they can't physically live without the other, like they can't be far from one another. So the girl comes to Kissin, the main character, to try to help her find a way to unbind herself from this god. And this is a shorty. I think it's less than 300 pages, I think. I might be wrong about that. Yeah, it's 290, including the acknowledgments. I have heard good things about this, and I'm curious to see how such a little book packs a punch. Again, I think this is stunning. It's also signed by the author, which is cool. I love Waterstones. They have some really beautiful special editions for super cheap, like cheaper than the book boxes even. So I try to periodically kind of look through their pre-order section, especially for their fantasy stuff. But yeah, I'm really excited to get to this one. Haven't read it yet, but it is a beautiful book, and it's not sold in the US. I don't think they have a distribution thing like with any publisher in the US, so you have to get this from either Waterstones or Book Depository if you want to read it, which is a bummer because I think that also means you can't get the ebook or the audiobook in the States unless you have a VPN, so that's weird. Next up is the first Fairy Loot of this haul. We have, I don't remember what month it is. It may have been January, YA Spice Road by Maya Ibrahim. This is I believe, Arabian-inspired fantasy story. This is the first in a series. I think our main character's, like, brother went missing or something. Yeah, she joins a mission sent to hunt him down, and she soon discovers many secrets lie beyond the forbidden wastes and in her own heart. This is a stunning edition from Fairy Loot. I'm really excited. I remember I was looking through, like, the end paper art, and I was like, wow, literally every character is hot. So, anyways, nothing about this is, like, super standing out to me, but beyond, like, how pretty it is, I want to get to it at some point. It's not, like, a super high priority, but I do sure like to look at it. I don't think I've really seen any reviews for this one, despite it being a Fairy Loot book, so if you've read this, let me know what you think. I'm not, like, against reading it. I am curious. I want to read it at some point. Maybe in the summer, since this seems to have a very, like, deserty, it's, like, setting. Then we have Hellbent, which I got way back in, like, the end of January or early February. I can't remember. Whenever this book came out. It was a pre-order from Barnes & Noble. This is the Barnes & Noble special edition. I don't know if these end papers are exclusive or if it's just the colorway on the cover that is exclusive to the Barnes & Noble edition. Either way, this is the sequel to Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which follows a character named Alex, who is a student at Yale University. She has a very non-traditional Yale student background. She has kind of a criminal past, and she can see ghosts, which is why Yale University wanted her, because they have a variety of secret societies on campus, and the Ninth Society, which is Lethe House, is supposed to be sort of like the checks and balances for these secret societies. They're meant to observe rituals and make sure that normies don't get hurt in the process. And the fact that she can see ghosts is a huge help, because normally you have to take this super dangerous drug in order to see them, and she can just do it naturally. So she gets roped into all this. Her future seems a lot brighter than it would have been normally, but something happens in her first year where her mentor, Darlington, goes missing, and she's desperately trying to get him back, figure out what exactly happened and why. And there's also, like, a murder mystery in both books 1 and 2 going on sort of in tandem with this plotline, which are really fun. And yeah, this one was awesome. I liked this one actually better than the first one, I think. It was a roller coaster. The mystery is a lot of fun. I really love when, like, art has kind of like this secret meaning behind it, like Da Vinci Code-esque. It's a lot of fun watching characters kind of puzzle out these clues, and there's this really cool scene in the library at Yale where her and her colleague are going through and kind of solving a mystery, and it's awesome. So I think if you like that kind of thing, you would like this series as well. It is quite dark. The first one I thought was a little bit darker with certain content warnings and stuff, but this one is also dark and deals a lot with, like, murder and death. So, you know, be wary when picking that up, but I liked this a lot. Then we have the very popular Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. This is the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. I literally just talked about this in my March wrap-up if you want to know my thoughts, but overall I thought it was awesome. Whether or not you liked Priory, I think this is worth reading. She's definitely grown as a writer, and I thought the characters in this one in particular were excellent. So this is set 500 years before Priory of the Orange Tree, and if you like fantasy with dragons and worms and wyvern, I think this is going to be a great read for you. There's a lot of, like, battle scenes with dragons. It was just so fun if you like that kind of thing. This is also the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, which... again, not sure if the end papers are exclusive. They're cool though. I like the sigils, and there's, like, a bonus chapter. Overall, I loved this, and this is gonna be an excellent addition to my shelf. I've got Priory right there, so this set of books is, like, so pretty. That's Day of Fallen Night. Another book I read in March is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. This is the Fairy Loot edition with these very creepy digitally sprayed edges. This is like a gothic... I don't want to say romance. It's about a marriage with a deep, dark secret at the center of it, and when the unnamed narrator met this woman, Indigo, and they fell in love and got married, Indigo made him promise to never look into her past. Inevitably, he breaks this promise, and mystery and intrigue ensue. The mystery at the heart of this was not as mysterious as I was hoping it would be, but the vibes were good. If you like a gothic story and like a house that is also a character, this is probably a good addition into that genre, and I would suggest picking it up. This unfortunately didn't do a whole lot for me. If you want to hear my more in-depth thoughts, again, feel free to check out my March wrap up. I'm not sure if I'll keep it. I know I'm hauling it, which feels silly. But where I didn't love it, I'm trying not to keep books that I don't love. So I might haul this just to unhaul it. We'll see. I feel so bad. Again, beautiful edition. And it was okay. Moving on to the next stack, we have The Night Tiger by Youngzi Chu. This is a magical realism sort of story, I believe. And that's all I know. The cover, I've always thought is beautiful. I picked this up used for $9 in Boston, and this is the first time I've seen it without the, I believe it's the Reese's Book Club sticker. So I was like, yes, please. And yeah, I don't know. Next time I'm feeling like historical fiction, I think I'm gonna pick this up. It takes place in 1930s colonial Malaysia, and it follows a world of servants and masters, age-old superstition and modern idealism, sibling rivalry, and forbidden love. I love all of those things. I think that's a really interesting combination. Again, not totally sure what this is about, but I kind of like going into some books not knowing a whole lot, you know, maybe just kind of having a general impression of the vibe. And I'm intrigued about the vibe of this. And I've heard excellent things. This is a very well, loved and reviewed book, so I'm excited to see what the hype is about. Oh, here we have another Fairy Loot. I believe this is the February YA book. I'm just making shit up. I don't know. This is The City of Nightmares by Rebecca Schaefer. And this is the UK cover with an exclusive coverway. Got the digital edge with the pterodactyl, because why not? And the printed hard case, which is also quite fun. I have seen, I believe, Elliot Brooks review this and said she really liked it. It's definitely kind of different sounding. I think Gotham meets Strange the Dreamer is how they were marketing that. And Strange the Dreamer is one of my favorite books, so that's got pretty big shoes to fill. I believe in this city, nightmares, physically manifest themselves, and they can, turn the dreamer into the nightmare. So the main character's sister became a giant spider or something, and the main character is incredibly traumatized by that and has since joined a society of people that I think take out these nightmares. And that's all I know about it. I have no idea what the pterodactyl's about. I assume it's a nightmare that's wandering around the city, but yeah, the vibe is interesting. I think it's a standalone, so that's cool. I love a standalone fantasy. Every time I say that, I'm proven wrong, immediately in the comments. So, again, I'm just making stuff up. And hopefully I'll get to it soon. I'm trying to stay up to date on Fairy Loot books, and it's not going well. I still have several, including, Belladonna and, I think Violet Made of Thorns or something from last year. So I've been better about keeping up with the adult books, just because I tend to reach for adult fantasy a little bit more so than YA these days, but I'm trying to change that. I also picked this one up in Boston. It's The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz. This is a signed edition that I got at Harvard Bookstore that I was really excited to find. This is a sci-fi story that obviously centers around terraforming, and I think it's Mars, but I might be wrong. JK, I'm totally wrong. It's a planet called Sosk E. It's sort of a multi-generational story in which we follow a character who makes a decision about the way they terraform this planet and how it impacts their descendants generations later. I think particularly in regards to an indigenous community that lives on this planet. So I'm very curious to read this. I've always thought the premise sounded super interesting. I'm trying to read more sci-fi this year. I'm really curious to read this one. I have seen kind of middling reviews, but I'm not gonna let that deter me. I like the concept of terraforming. I think that's a really cool idea to play with in a sci-fi. So I hope it's good. We have another Fairy Loot book. This is the adults ? March pick? February pick? I'm just gonna stop guessing at this point. This is The Adventures of Amina El-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. It's beautiful. I love it. The end pages are gilded with gold. It's incredible. It's one of the prettiest special editions I own. And I say that while also being partial actually to the US cover. I really love the illustration on that, and it's a struggle every day to not buy that one as well, because it's gorgeous. And also, Boom, cat. Incredible, gorgeous, immaculate masterpiece. Anyways, I actually received an arc of this on NetGalley, so I had the privilege of reading it a little bit early and absolutely loved it. I thought this was so fun. This was an incredible adventure, and it's like getting the gang back together kind of story, but also pirates. If you like Pirates of the Caribbean, this one takes place in the Indian Ocean, but is also super fun. And I love like the diverse cast of characters that we got. This story feels so fleshed out and well researched, and the supernatural elements are so cool. So we follow a like middle-aged former captain of a pirate ship, and her name is Amina al-Sarafi, and this is her telling her life story to a scribe. So we have this narrative structure where like there are kind of asides where she's talking to the scribe, taking down her story, and there's also these like documents that kind of live between chapters that give context to certain elements in the story, which I thought was really inventive. The writing voice and just Amina's character is so funny, and I just love her like wry humor. She's confronted with these supernatural elements, and she's always just kind of like, God damn it. Which I think is a really funny disposition to have in the face of these elements. Like, she wants nothing to do with this stuff, but, like, she also loves the adventure, but she's also kind of, like, over all the magical crap. She's just like, ah! So this was a lot of fun, and I love the adventure at the heart of this, and the crew was really cool. One of them is a demon who is so funny and so useless. I love like a fish out of water kind of character, and he certainly is. Like, there are just certain things about humanity that he just like does not understand, and that also lends a lot of humor. So I'm giving like a full-fledged review of this book now, which just goes to show how much I love it, because I'll never stop talking about it. Even though I do prefer the US cover, I cherish this version. It is beautiful. The edges are also stunning. I loved this, and it's honestly made me more excited to read the City of Brass trilogy there. I can't remember, the David Bad trilogy, starting with City of Brass, because I really liked Shannon Chakraborty's writing, so I'm gonna forever treasure this book. I have another Fairy Loot edition. This is a sequel. It's Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan. This is the sequel to Daughter of the Moon Goddess. It's so hard sometimes with Fairy Loot sequels, because you kind of have to pre-order them before you've maybe even read the first book. I did read the first book in this case, but I did really love Daughter of the Moon Goddess, so I was very much looking forward to Heart of the Sun Warrior, and like Daughter of the Moon Goddess, this edition is stunning. Fairy Loot really outdid themselves with this duology. I didn't think this was as strong as the first book, but I do still really love the story as a whole and the characters, and the writing is just so fun. It's a little like melodramatic, and I have seen that as like a complaint, but it just kind of makes me think of like those Chinese soap opera, like the fantasy soap operas. And like if you go into the series knowing that, I think you're gonna have a really fun time. It's a lot of fun, and again, this edition is stunning, so very excited to have this. Then we have The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. This was actually a gift from my friend Jose, kind of in exchange for making some stickers for him, so thanks, Jose. I know very little about this. I know it got really popular on TikTok, and I think it's like two characters find a god, and they have to like escort him or them somewhere. So yeah, two warriors shepherd an ancient god across a broken land to end the tyrannical reign of a royal family, which is an incredible premise. Also, these end papers that are also kind of a map are insane. I don't know if I've actually seen those. They're beautifully illustrated. I love all the animals. I've seen incredible reviews for this book. I know Zoran really likes it, and I believe Easy Cat on TikTok also really likes it, so I am so excited to get to this. From my understanding, this is like super high fantasy, but I love that. So this is also a beautiful cover, and I cannot wait to get to this one. Next up, we have a romance book, and that is Bombshell by Sarah McLean. This is the first book in her Hell's Bells series, which I think is actually a spin-off of another series by her that I haven't read, so I'm not sure if I should grab those ones before reading this, but I got this for a pretty good deal. This was like $8. Actually, no, not even. It was less than that because I got it used. $5. It was $5 at Brookline Booksmith. Our main character, I think her reputation has been kind of ruined, but she's like chill with that because it allows her to do things in society that like normal high class ladies can't. Like it allows her a freedom, and that's really all I know. this is fun, or sounds fun at least. I read another series by Sarah McLean that was a lot of fun, that were sort of like inspired by like Greek mythology, but they were historical romances. So I'm curious to see what her other romances are like and if I have just as much fun with them. Also from Brookline Booksmith, I picked up Binti by Nnedi Okorafor used, and this is a very tiny little novella, as you can see. I think it's the first in like a series of novellas. I'm not sure how many. It's like Afrofuturism. And I've read a book by Nnedi Okorafor in the past and really enjoyed it. So this is sort of like what everyone knows her for. So I'm really excited to get to this one. It says, she left her home for the stars, but found more adventure than she bargained for. A tense and intimate coming of age story set in space. So that's fun. I love a little sci-fi novella. This is literally less than 100 pages. Oh my God. Another sci-fi novella, we have Becky Chambers' To Be Taught If Fortunate. This is a bit longer. It's like 150 pages and follows a crew that goes out into space, like far space, to research life on other planets and the many forms that it takes. And it takes them decades to do this. The life that they left on Earth is gone, and Earth itself is rapidly changing as they're traveling. So they're kind of reconciling like their life's work with like, does it even matter anymore? Like, do the people on Earth still care about this? Which I thought was a really interesting premise. So obviously I've already read this one and really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to reading more of Becky Chambers' work. It's interesting going from her super cozy monk and robot books to something that's a little bit more like what I would consider traditional sci-fi, but I really like her writing, and her views on science and space exploration are really interesting as well. So I was really excited to find this because I don't see this one in stores a lot. Like, I was gonna buy this one on Amazon, so I'm glad I didn't have to. Another sci-fi novella, we have Adrian Tchaikovsky's Elder Race. And I've seen this recommended a couple of times for like sci-fi novellas or like something to pick up to like when you're just getting into sci-fi. Adrian Tchaikovsky is a super prolific sci-fi author. His Children of Time series in particular is really popular, and I do want to get to that at some point. I think that has to do with like space spiders. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I have heard it's excellent, so I'm intrigued. But this one feels a lot more approachable, where it's like 200 pages. I don't have like a super big grasp on what this book is about, other than like a princess who seeks a sorcerer's help, but he's like forbidden to help. And there's like a demon ravaging the lands, or like a demon. I don't know. I'm intrigued. I think it was Evan from Book Reviews Kills that mentioned that this book deals with characters who don't speak the same language, and the things that they interpret, like, you get to see both of their perspectives, and it has a lot to do with like the meaning of language and stuff as well. So I'm intrigued. That sounds like a cool premise. I might be misremembering that, but I'm pretty sure he was talking about this book. So I'm excited to get to this one at some point. Then we have Abby Jimenez's Part of Your World. This is a romance book. I think this is the first one in kind of like a loose romance series. She's got another book coming out this year that I think is like a soft sequel to this one, so I wanted to read this one first. I have never read a book by Abby Jimenez, but I do follow her on TikTok for her Stuntman Mike content, so highly recommend. That dog is so cute. And anyways, this book I believe has to do with people who have very different like schedules. I think one of them like works the night at the ER, and the other is a hot carpenter. The guy is actually younger than the girl, so it's an age gap romance where the girl is older, which is interesting. It sounds cute, and I've been wanting to check out this author for a while, and I finally found this book used for $7, so thought that was a good deal. Another romance I picked up used recently is The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. I believe this has a pirate and a prim and proper lady thief. That's all I really need to know. It's like a historical rom-com. I love that, and I want to read this one soon. The cover especially gives me like springtime vibes, and I just think like that sounds so fun. And I've seen the other books used as well, and I've been like tempted to pick them up in the series, but I've been holding off until I read this first one, so I need to get that out of the way soon. Next up, we have Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson. This is a little novella fluffy sequel to her book Sorcery of Thorns, which was a standalone up until now, and I absolutely loved this one. It felt like fan fiction, but like written by the author. Like it was just like a really sweet, fluffy plot, and like the perfect kind of, I don't even want to say closure, because I don't want to admit that like this might be the end of their story, with Nathaniel and Elizabeth from, again, Sorcery of Thorns. That book is like perfect for people who love books. Elizabeth is raised in a great library, but she also like fights demons or grimoires, and Nathaniel is a sorcerer who derives his power from an actual demon. That demon's name is Silas, and he is also has a cat form, which is delightful. And yeah, their adventure in that first book is so fun. I loved it. Margaret Rogerson's writing is absolutely phenomenal. The romance between Elizabeth and Nathaniel is just perfection. And this really expanded on that. So if you haven't read this, but you've read Sorcery of Thorns, highly recommend you pick this up. And it's like, you could read it in an afternoon. It's so short and sweet, and I absolutely loved it. I also recently picked up Finland Donovan Jumps the Gun, which is the third book in the Finland Donovan series, in which an author and a single mom gets mistaken for a hitman, and shenanigans and a lot of very almost criminal things occur. Finley is a really fun character. I love her dynamic with her nanny Vero / her partner in crime, and just like the crap they get themselves into is absolutely insane. So this is definitely a continuation of that, and while not the strongest book in the series, it was still a lot of fun. It's really the perfect palate cleanser between like really big high fantasy books and stuff. So I think I'll like never not read these books. I just love them so much. They're so delightful. Then we have another book that I received from my friend Jose, and that is Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk. This is the same author as The Midnight Bargain, which I own but have not read. And it's kind of like a historical fantasy noir, from my understanding. It's also like sapphic, which is cool. The little blurb says it follows a magical detective who dives into the affairs of Chicago's divine monsters to secure a future with the love of her life. The sapphic period piece will dazzle anyone looking for mystery, intrigue, romance, magic, or all of the above, which I check all of the above. That I love all that. So I'm very curious to see how this goes, and if I like it, and if I do like it, The Midnight Bargain will probably jump up on my TBR. Another very highly anticipated book of mine, this is one of my favorite authors recently, is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. This is a Southern Gothic tale that follows a brother and a sister, and the sister is like, I think it's like in North Carolina. So one day the sister receives a call from her brother that says, "Mom seems off." I believe this is like a haunted house story. Her mom is frightened in her own home, but it says some secrets are better left buried. So this is another kind of shorty from T. Kingfisher. It's like 250 pages, which is similar in length to Nettle and Bone, which I'm fine with. I love a little fast read. It's like longer than I would consider a novella, really. I'm planning on reading this one in March, so I'm really hoping to love it. I've loved every single thing I've read by T. Kingfisher so far, and I'm looking forward to reading more of her horror. I've only read The Hollow Places like in her horror sort of backlist, so I'm hoping I like this one just as much, because that book scared the pants off of me. I found this book at my local bookstore recently. It's actually an Owl Crate edition, and I got it for $8, so that's pretty cool. It even still has the author letter inside. But this is Dreams Lie Beneath by Rebecca Ross. I have read her Elements of Cadence duology and really loved it. It's A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless. Those were so enchanting and very atmospheric and absolutely lovely. So I want to check out some of her YA books, which she is better known for. I literally have no idea what the plot of this one is. I just saw it was the Owl Crate edition and an author that I liked, and I was like, cool, mine. I really like the atmosphere of the Elements of Cadence, so I'm hoping this has that as well, and I hope I like her YA stuff as much as I loved her adult stuff. Ooh, I also picked this one up in Boston for about $9. It's The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Naylor, and this follows, I believe, a biologist who discovers a dangerous species of hyper-intelligent octopus. It gives me Arrival vibes, which is always fun. I love that movie. So yeah, our main character has spent her life researching cephalopod intelligence and will do anything for the chance to study these new dangerous ones. The first edition has these fun digital edges, which I always love. And yeah, this was a good deal, and I picked it up. I have no idea when I'm going to read it, but hopefully it's good. I feel like I've heard good things. I've seen it on TikTok a couple of times, so that kind of put it on my radar. And when I saw it used, I was like, cool, I'll buy that. I have a lot of novellas in this haul. I'm not mad about that, though. Next up, we have The Emperor's Soul by Brandon Sanderson, which I believe takes place in the same world as Elantris, which I recently read, so I am excited to get to that. This is the 10th anniversary edition that has a bonus scene, apparently. Our main character is tasked with creating a new soul for the Emperor in fewer than 100 days. But her soul forgery is considered an abomination by her captors. I have no idea. I thought, having read Elantris, I'd have a little bit more context for this, but so maybe I'm misremembering that. I'm excited to read this. I'm trying to prioritize Mistborn this month, and I'm not quite sure whether or not to read this before or after, or if it even matters. Next up, we have The Magician's Daughter by H.G. Perry, which I've heard compared to, like, Howl's Moving Castle and, like, The Littlest Princess. It seems like it gives me spring vibes. It seems whimsical and magical, and I really hope I love it. This was, like, the Barnes & Noble speculative fiction pick, I think, this last month in March. Everything from the vibes of the cover and the description seems up my alley, and I'm planning on reading it this month, so it seems promising. I've never read anything by H.G. Perry, though, so we shall see. Another good used find, I grabbed Love on the Brain. Got it for like $5 or $6, which was a pretty good find for an Allie Hazelwood book. I read this actually last year. I borrowed it from the library for my e-reader, and I enjoyed it. But where I'd already read it, I didn't want to buy it brand new, so I waited until I found a used copy to add it to my collection. If you've read The Love Hypothesis, this hits a lot of the same notes. I actually heard somewhere that she wrote this before The Love Hypothesis was technically published, which is why there's a lot of similarities. But I wasn't mad about it. I like her writing a lot, even if her couples kind of have a lot of similarities. This is another like STEMinist book of hers where we follow a lady scientist and her scientist love interest. These two butt heads a lot initially, but come to be good work partners. This was fun. Not my favorite by her, but I liked it enough to want to own it, so found this for a good deal. Okay, I got this one at Harvard Bookstore, I remember, in the used section. This is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. I've heard such good things about this series. The third book comes out this year, so I really want to check this out at some point. I've heard this is very, like, Venetian-inspired political fantasy, kind of like a Batman, Catwoman thing also happening as well. Our main character poses as, like, the cousin of a noble in order to establish herself in society and try to trick her way into a noble house to secure her fortune and her sister's future. So yeah, I don't really know what the fantasy aspect of this book is, but I'm intrigued. This is a doorstopper. I did not realize how long this was. It's over 600 pages. So I'm excited to get to it at some point. I hope I like it. I've heard kind of mixed things, but I've heard mainly that it's slow, and that's, like, what people don't like about it, and I don't mind a slow book, technically, if it's, like, the plot and characters are good enough, so I'm intrigued to get to this one. This next book is me caving to TikTok hype. This author is blowing up, and I don't read a lot of indie authors unless I see that there's, like, a lot of traction for them. Not because I'm, like, against indie books, I just, like, do not have the time to sift through. It's just a lot of dedication to find, like, a really good author that doesn't need a lot of editing. And I don't have Kindle Unlimited either, so this book, again, though, is really blowing up, and I wanted to check this author out. She does technically have a finished series. Her unfinished series is what intrigued me more, though, so that's what I grabbed the first book of, and that is The Serpents. This is a really long title. The Serpent and the Wings of Night. That's a mouthful. By Carissa Broadbent. This is her Crowns of Nyaxia novel. All I know about this is vampires, and I'm kind of like having a vampire moment. I want a vampire romance. So our main character is the adopted human daughter of the Nightborn vampire king. I've heard this is like if Hunger Games and Underworld had a baby, and I'm intrigued. So obviously there's some sort of high stakes life or death games thing happening, and I think one of her rivals is a vampire warrior from a different house. Yeah, he's the enemy of her father's crown and her greatest competition, but they must partner up to survive. So I love a good enemies to lovers romance. I love vampire romance when done well, and I've heard this is amazing. The sequel comes out this April, and there's already a novella out that takes place in the same world as well. So even though the series isn't completed, it seems like there's plenty of reading material to be had, and if I do like this one, I will check out. I think the other series starts with Daughter of No Worlds. It's more of like a fae romance, I think, and I am intrigued by that one, but I've just read so many fae romance fantasies lately. I wanted something a little bit different, so I'm hoping this is good, and I'm hoping this wasn't just like hype and it turns out to be horrible. We shall see. If you've read this, please let me know what you thought. And then the last novel is The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty, and this is the first time I've seen this used as well. I picked it up for $8. I picked up the previous 2 books in the Daevabad trilogy used as well, so I was like committed to buying this whole series used, especially where I hadn't read the first one. But having read Amina al-Sarafi, I'm pretty confident I'm gonna like the Daevabad trilogy. I just thought her writing was excellent in that one, like I said, so I'm very excited to get to this one at some point. I have a lot of series on my like TBR for this year, so I don't know if this is the year of the Daevabad trilogy for me, but when I do pick it up, I have all 3 books ready to go. I know this is like more of a, it's like a Middle Eastern inspired fantasy with like a djinn, and I think our main character is human, but I'm not sure, so I'm not going to read the back because I haven't read the first one and I don't want to spoil myself, but very excited to have this finally. I've had the first 2 books for a while, so now I have the whole trilogy. Okay, the rest of these books are manga and graphic novels, so if you're not interested in that, go ahead and skip to the end of this video. I'll try to remember to leave like a bookmark or something. So we got the newest volume of Spy Family, Volume 9. This came out in March. I picked it up, or I pre-ordered it actually, and read it within 45 minutes of opening it out of the mail. So I love this series. I am desperately like awaiting the next volume, and it's just like my comfort series. I love it so much. This was another great installation. We follow, if you don't know what Spy Family is about, what are you doing? We follow a spy named Twilight who puts together a fake family for the sake of this mission that he has, and his adoptive daughter Anya is a telepath unbeknownst to him, and then he ends up marrying a assassin unbeknownst to him, but the telepath daughter can read their minds and knows exactly who her parents are, and she thinks it's the coolest thing ever, so she tries to help both of them out, and it's absolutely insane, but also crazy heartwarming. So love this series, and this was excellent, and I want the next volume yesterday. I grabbed volumes 1 and 2 of My Happy Marriage from Amazon during a buy one get one 50% off sale. This is kind of like a Cinderella historical romance retelling, and I thought this was really good. The Cinderella elements are really sad. Her family hates her. Like, it's not just her stepmom and her stepsister, or actually half-sister, sorry. It's her dad as well. Like, she doesn't have the family generational magic, and so like she's worthless to them, and they end up marrying her off to this guy who's super powerful, but like they don't think it's gonna work out, and they're pretty sure she's just gonna get turned out onto the streets, and they don't care, which is horrible, but the romance does work out, so take that, horrible family. This is a weird mix of cute and depressing, so just be aware of that before going in, but this is really interesting. If you like historical romance with like a little bit of fantasy, I recommend this series, at least so far. There's only 2 volumes out in English, but I'm eagerly awaiting volume 3, and I want to check out the anime when that comes out. I think that's this summer, so I'm excited for that. I also picked up The Ancient Magus's Bride, Volume 1 for a pretty good deal used, and this was interesting. I've seen this on TikTok a lot, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. The plot is interesting. We follow a teenager named Chise Hitori who ends up kind of selling herself into slavery, but like luckily the guy that buys her wants to take her on as an apprentice, so she's not like really a slave anymore, but like she's kind of indebted to this dude. So there's a weird power imbalance with that, and then like he's also this ancient mage, so he's like super powerful, and like she has the potential to become a really big mage, or like a really powerful mage, which is why he took her on as his apprentice. But I believe this does evolve into a romance, which I'm a little wary of because there's this giant age gap and also power imbalance between them. But if it's handled well, I'll like it, I think. I like the characters. The mage Elias is kind of funny, and I believe he used to be human. That might be false. I'm not sure. So I'm intrigued about like what his deal is, because he's got this animal skull for a head, which is odd, objectively odd. So I liked volume 1. This one currently has an anime out that I might check out to kind of help me decide if I want to buy the next couple of volumes. This next one was kind of an impulse buy. I got it from my local bookstore for like $8. So it's new, but it was like a pretty good price. It's called The Hunters Guild Red Hood. This is volume 1. I think there's 2 or 3 volumes out in English right now. But the back says, in a world where fairy tales are fact and humans live in fear of werewolves, witches, and monsters, only the Hunters Guild can keep the monsters at bay. These red-hooded fighters are anything but little, and only those able to pay a king's ransom can afford their services. But it's a small price to pay to stay alive. So I'm intrigued. I don't know what like the entire story is going to be about, but I liked the idea that like there's a whole guild of red hooded fighters who fight against these mythical creatures. I think that's a really fun spin on Little Red Riding Hood, and I hope it's good. Then, oh my gosh, I was really excited to find these. I've been wanting to read the series for a while. It's pretty popular, and the genre appeals to me. It's like a historical fantasy romance, which like check. I like all 3 of those things, but it's really long. I think there's like 30 or something volumes out at the moment. Honestly, probably more than that. It might be in the 50s by now. I'm not sure. But I found the first 5 used, which I thought was great. They were only $5 a piece. And that is Yona of the Dawn. Like I said, volumes 1 through 5. I've heard excellent things about this. This also has an anime I'm excited to watch, but I wanted to read the manga first. And yeah, so I think we follow a princess, but she's like been cast out for some reason. Yeah, so she's doted on by her father, the king, and protected by her faithful guard, Hawk. So I think it's like a guard princess romance, which I absolutely love. Everything changes on her 16th birthday when a tragedy strikes in her family, and she's reeling from the shock of witnessing a loved one's murder and having to fight for her life. So she has to flee the palace and struggle to survive while evading an enemy's forces. So yeah, it's princess in exile kind of thing, and I really hope this is a guard princess romance. I might be interpreting that incorrectly, but I'm excited to see what the hype is about, and I hope I love it. I figured finding 5 volumes used was pretty good, so I was really excited to find these. Another series I found the first few volumes used for is the Dragon Knights Beloved. The first one was $6, but the subsequent ones were only $3 a piece. So while I know nothing about this series, I was like, okay, I'll check it out. I like dragons, I like fantasy, I like knights. So our main character is a maid in training at the royal castle, where her greatest joy is caring for the majestic steeds of the Dragon Knights. So she shares a special bond of friendship with Commander Hubert, the handsome knight who rides the mightiest of dragons, but their relationship is about to get complicated. Newly returned from a dangerous mission, Hubert makes a shocking request. Would Melissa pretend to be his lover and move to his country estate where wild dragons roam? This might be cheesy. This might be bad. I don't know. But I figured I would be willing to check out the first 4 volumes to see if I like it or not. Hopefully it's good, but it wasn't that expensive at the end of the day. So I was like, this will either be a waste of time or it'll be a great time that I got a great deal on. So over the last few months, I have also picked up volumes 6 through 10 of Witch Hat Atelier. Unfortunately, did not find these used, but oh well. I believe these are all the English ones that are out at the moment. I don't know how long this series is going to be. These are some of the most beautifully illustrated manga I have ever seen. I believe the artist used to work for like Marvel and DC and would do like covers and stuff for them. So like, it's not just the covers that look insanely beautiful, it's the entirety of it. So that is such a joy. I love when that happens. In the series, we follow a young girl named Coco who is recently taken on as an apprentice by a witch. She was brought up being told that magic is something that one is born with, but she finds out kind of through a tragic turn of events that you can learn magic, and something, again, kind of tragic and horrible happens, but she's brought in by a witch and taught how to use it responsibly, and she kind of butts heads with one of her fellow apprentices initially, and there's this really interesting sort of mystery going on in the background. I'm very excited to see what the deal with that is, but yeah, I think I have all of these now, so I need to read more of them, and I think an anime is coming out for this as well. I don't buy manga just because there's an anime or not, but it definitely helps, so I hope the quality of this stays good. I've heard nothing but good things about this series overall, so I'm excited to get to the latter half of the series. Then I grabbed volumes 1 and 2 of Romantic Killer. These are the only ones out in English at the moment, but I believe the whole series is only 4 volumes long. It's an adaptation of a webtoon, so these are also actually like fully color illustrated, which is really fun. You don't see that a lot in manga. But yeah, we follow a character named Anzu who wants nothing to do with boys. She's perfectly content to go home to play video games, eat chocolate, and hang out with her cat. And then one day a sprite of sorts kind of pops up in her life and is like, we're gonna have you fall in love. And she's like, I don't care about falling in love right now. I'm just a teenager. Let me have these things that bring me joy. And the sprite is like, nope, and takes away her video games and chocolate and has her parents move to the States without her, and they bring their cat, and so she's left alone in this house and must return to school and like live life. And these very like stereotypical kind of tropey things begin to happen to her, where like boys are literally like thrown into her path due to the sprite's manipulations, and she is very resistant to it and like actively trying to sabotage the plans of this magical being because she just out of resentment. So it's fun so far. It's definitely like uses tropes in a very like wink wink kind of like self-aware way, which is always a lot of fun. I like it when a series can kind of poke fun at certain things that are conventions of the genre that it belongs to. And yeah, I thought these were fun. Also an anime on Netflix, actually, if you're interested. It's not like my favorite shoujo or whatever in the world, but it's fun. It's a good time. And then I grabbed some graphic novels from Books A Million. They had a buy two get the third free sale kind of recently. So I grabbed Garlic and the Witch and Garlic and the Vampire by Brie Paulson. These just seem really cute. It's a little head of Garlic who has to fight a vampire. I'm pretty sure this is the first one and this is the second one. She is just like, she lives in a village of other like vegetables and learns that a bloodthirsty vampire may have moved in to a nearby castle and that she is the obvious choice to confront him because she is literally a head of garlic. So, and then the follow-up is Garlic and the Witch. I'm not quite sure what the plot of this one is in its entirety, but it's so cute. I kind of want to read these closer to Halloween, just given, like, the supernatural nature of these, but these are kids' novels, or the graphic novels, rather, so I'm sure they're still very wholesome and adorable, which I love. I love creepy cute, so I hope this has that in spades. And then I also grabbed, in that sale, Tide Song by Wendy Zhu. I don't really know a whole lot about this, but I've thought the art was very cute for like a long time. This is also like a kid's graphic novel. I believe it's a standalone though, and the art is just so cute. The back says, the only thing harder than magic is friendship. Sophie isn't great at magic, but her family wants her to attend the best magic academy, and they sent her to train with a distant relative. However, her cousin, Sage, and Aunt Lon seem more interested in giving Sophie chores than teaching her magic. She accidentally entangles with the magic of a young water dragon named Lear, who is now trapped in human form. It just sounds really cute. Again, love the artwork. Very excited to read this one. And finally, I picked up the Tea Dragon Festival. I have whatever the first one is, the Tea Dragon Society, that I read like a year or two ago, and I've been like meaning to pick up the second one ever since. The artwork is stunning. The dragon designs in this are all like inspired by tea, which is just absolutely precious. And it's just like the softest, cutest little dragon story. And yeah, I've been meaning to read this for a while now, but it's so cute. Oh my god, that was the longest haul I've ever done. If you're still around, thank you for watching. Let me know if you like these longer hauls or if you would prefer like more frequent, smaller hauls. I didn't mean for this haul to kind of grow so much, but it is what it is. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you've read any of these. If I haven't read them, hype me up on them. I'm very excited to dive into so many of them, so if you could give me a place to start, that'd be cool. But as always, please feel free to like this video, comment down below if you're feeling up to it, maybe subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and have a lovely day. Bye.